We have breaking news here, Sixers fans, as Philadelphia is signing free agent wing Lonnie Walker to a 2-year contract after not being in the NBA up throughout this season, playing overseas after spending preseason with the Celtics. Lonnie Walker is making a return to the NBA with your Philadelphia 76ers. This just came in from Shams Charania, first on the report here, saying Lonnie Walker has agreed to a 2-year, $3 million deal with the 76ers, his agent told ESPN. Walker has been playing overseas in the EuroLeague, had an NBA out on his deal, and interestingly enough, today was actually the last day that Lonnie Walker would have been able to sign with an NBA team. After today, that out he had in his contract to get to the NBA would have expired, and he would have had to remain overseas for the remainder of the season. But the Sixers came in just at the right time, the very last day, signing Lonnie Walker, who will now enter his 7th season in the NBA. Going to dive into this move by the Sixers, why I think they made it the player he is, and all of that. But before we do, guys, this is why you stay subscribed to the channel. We just had a pretty busy trade deadline. Sixers making multiple trades, and I told you guys then, I'm telling you guys now, whenever the Sixers make a move, we make a video. No matter what's going on, we got you covered with the latest on the Sixers. We did just surpass 21,000 subscribers here on the channel, and we're trying to keep pushing eventually to hit 22K, but our first goal right now, hit 21,100 subs. Can we do it here on today's video? If you want year-round coverage of the 76ers, be sure to hit that sub button. So some more information on this Lonnie Walker contract from Brett Siegel. First up, as I mentioned, today was the final day for Lonnie Walker to opt out of his European deal. Now he gets a chance to play for a struggling Philly team in need of production, and I'm surprised it didn't happen a little bit earlier. Maybe Lonnie Walker was just kind of weighing out his options, seeing where he wanted to go if the money was right, and the Sixers, with their injuries, and they had a couple open roster spots, could certainly use some more juice coming off that bench. I think Lonnie Walker can do that. And then a little more info here from Kyle Neubeck on this Lonnie Walker deal. It is a 2-year deal, as mentioned, 2 years, $3 million, but it does include a team option in year 2. So it's very similar to what the Sixers have done with Justin Edwards and Jared Butler, where they're signed for the remainder of this year, and then the Sixers can use that team option to determine if they want to keep Lonnie Walker around. They can pick up the team option, keep him around for one more season for next year, or they can decline the option and then sign him to an even longer-term deal if they really like what they saw. But regardless, Lonnie Walker at least will be on the team for the remainder of this season with a team option for next year. And Lonnie Walker, not a super old player, right? Lonnie is just 26 years old, but he's already made his rounds in the NBA and in NBA circles. Was the 18th overall pick back in 2018 by the San Antonio Spurs. And I thought had a good career in San Antonio. Of course, not good enough to stick around there long term, but he showed flashes, had good moments, but ultimately was not able to stick around with that team. Did go to the Lakers for one season after that and actually had quite an impressive playoff series for the Lakers, if you remember, against the Warriors, which we will touch on in a little bit as well. Then spent last season with a rebuilding Brooklyn Nets team and was decent again with Brooklyn, but that's kind of been the theme with everywhere he's gone, is that he's been decent, but not good enough for that team to want to keep Lonnie Walker around long term. And then coming into this season, he actually did spend preseason with the Boston Celtics, but did not make a good enough impression, did not stick around for the regular season, and this season has been playing overseas. You take a look at what he's done this year playing overseas, just over 13 points, right around 3 rebounds. Efficiency, not quite what you'd want to see for a player who's, trying to prove himself once again and prove that he does belong in the NBA. But this is kind of who he's always been. It's a guy that can score a little bit and do a little bit here and there on the floor, but never been super efficient. You take a look at what he's done the previous 4 years in the NBA, again, with the Nets and with the Lakers and with the Spurs, hovering around 9 to 11, 12 points per game, not really going to give you much in any other statistical category, rebounds or assists. And again, hasn't always been the most efficient player because he's one of those guys that he gets on the floor and he's going to want to get his shots up. Although I will say last season for the Nets, 38% from 3. That is at least a little bit encouraging, and why I was surprised he didn't get a chance earlier in the year and maybe in the offseason to sign with a team entering this year. So what can we expect from Lonnie Walker? Because I do think bringing him in here, he is going to get a chance to play with the injuries and the current situation going on with Philadelphia. He does have that floor spacing ability. He showed that last season, and I think he can continue to show that as someone who can stand out at that three-point line and stretch the floor, but he can create his own shot as well. He's shown the ability to put the ball on the floor, pull up in that mid-range. He can get to the basket and finish at the rim because he is athletic and he has good size at that wing spot. Lonnie Walker standing at 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan, and again, he's 26 years old, and he really can fly, which is, again, part of why it's been confusing why he hasn't gotten too many looks in the NBA over the past couple of years, but part of the reason is he's really not a great defender. And despite him having these athletic tools, he's never shown consistently enough on that end that he could be trusted on that end of the floor. But right now for the Sixers, I don't think they're really all too worried about that right now because their offense has been so atrocious, and they just need a little spark on the offensive end of the floor. Gonna get to some more thoughts on Lonnie Walker here in just a moment. But before we do, I want you guys to chime in. Give me your one-word reaction to the Sixers signing Lonnie Walker. Mine, I'm a little surprised both at the timing of this and considering where the Sixers are in the standings, them making a move to add a player like this. But of course, we'll get to that as well, why I think the Sixers did make this move. But let me know your one-word thoughts in the comment section right now. So my take on this Lonnie Walker signing. Look, he has the size, he has the athleticism to be a good defender because we know what he can do on the offensive end of the floor. He's never going to be super efficient, and he's never going to be this 40% catch and shoot three-point shooter. He's never going to be that kind of player, but we know what he is offensively, and that's a decent enough NBA player. Good enough offensively to hang around in the league. There's plenty of players in the NBA right now that Lonnie Walker is more talented than offensively, but it's the defense has been the issue. His effort, his IQ, it's really been inconsistent. So the question is, can Philadelphia get him right on that end of the floor? If they can, I think you've got a player that you could see in your rotation for years to come. Again, considering he's just 26 years old, maybe yet to see the peak of his basketball career. And I mentioned earlier, when he was with the Lakers in 2023, he had a playoff series against the Golden State Warriors where he showed a little bit. And in that playoff series, 10 points a game, shooting 54% from the field and 39% from three. Had a couple of games, including one, I forget which game it was, but it was a fourth quarter where I believe he scored 10-plus points. He was just going crazy for them, helped the Lakers to win that game. And he showed his value in that series, which I think is partly why the Nets did give him a contract the following year. Of course, didn't get anything after that. What's also interesting to note here about Lonnie Walker, he does have some hometown ties to Philadelphia. He is from Reading, Pennsylvania, went to high school in Reading. So a cool story there. A couple local guys now on the team. Justin Edwards, of course, the veteran, and Kyle Lowry, and now Lonnie Walker. Maybe that played a role as well in him wanting to come to Philadelphia, be somewhere where he has a little bit more familiarity and play in his hometown. Probably was a dream of his as a kid to play for the 76ers, although might not have thought the 76ers would be in the situation they are right now. But we talked about Lonnie Walker, what he can bring. But why did the Sixers make this move, right? Because you think about where they are in the standings. They're sitting at the 11th seed. A lot of people are asking them to tank. The season's over. Look forward toward next year. And I think part of this move is looking towards next year to keep Lonnie Walker for this season and next season. But what this really tells me is that Morey is not yet giving up on the year. If Morey was chalking it, mailing it in, saying this team is not good enough this year to compete, we don't believe we can push for a playoff spot, I really don't think they make this move. There's no reason to make this move at this very time. The fact that he made this move when he did, bring in Lonnie Walker for the rest of the season on the last day that he could have signed with an NBA team, tells me Morey's not giving up yet. And he's talked about it. He does still believe this team has a chance, whether it's foolish or not. We've seen repeatedly now, based on the Sixers' actions and on what Morey and Nick Nurse have been saying to the media and in their press conferences, that they still think that if the Sixers can just sneak into the playoffs, they have a chance to beat anybody. We'll see, because at the end of the day, I don't think Lonnie Walker is going to be the determining factor in that. They're going to have to stay healthy regardless. But the Sixers could have used a little more juice coming off that bench at that wing spot, especially with Paul George and the injury he's been dealing with. You lost Jared McCain for a while. You traded away some guys, brought some new guys in. I think Lonnie Walker ninth, 10th guy off the bench, at least give you some athleticism and hopefully some shot creation because there's not a lot of guys on the team that can really put it on the deck, get to the rim, and get their own shot, especially since Paul George has not been able to do that for the Sixers this year. So Lonnie Walker, newest member of your Philadelphia 76ers. We said if they made a couple of trades last week during the deadline, or a couple weeks ago during the deadline, that they would have some open roster spots to make a signing, and that's what they've done here with Lonnie Walker. So I want you right now, get in the comments, grade the Lonnie Walker signing A, B, C, D, or F. I don't see how you could really grade it too poorly. I mean, you give him a 2-year, $3 million deal with a team option, so you decide if he's back next year. I'd probably give it a B. It's not like a super steal. There's a reason he hasn't been in the league, but a fine signing nonetheless. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, guys. Again, we did just surpass 21,000 subs, and we're going to continue to keep growing here. Despite the Sixers having a tough season on the floor, we're always going to keep you guys in the know about what's going on with the Sixers. So be sure to subscribe, and we'll catch you next time here on 76ers Now.